See anything pop up yet.
Go.
All right, welcome back. Hey there, hi there, ho there, and a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back for another edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast. We're not on any specific station, although we will be on YouTube and the Cardinal Couple website. I think it's the Cardinal Couple Radio website, Jeff, if I remember correctly, where you can
Uh,
catch.
it's what is the account name? Uh, Cardinal Couple, I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on YouTube, where you can catch today's broadcast for a replay and also
Yeah.
some other ones that we have put up over the last few months as we bring you here the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports. Doing this during the summer, of course, and when traditionally there's not a whole lot going on, and when you add in the 2020 aspect of this year where things have been shut down pretty much, still we're lucky. We have things to talk about and good and positive things and fun things to talk about. So, that being what it is, we'll get right on into what's happening. Today, we have Jared participating as a listen in only. He's busy rolling change at his financial institution, sweeping the parking lot, and of course, body slamming people to the floor who were walking into the establishment without masks on. So I'm hoping that's working well for him. I hope we don't get an injury or hospital report on
I
him
hope he
later.
doesn't have to do that much. Ultimately, yeah, of course, he's not actually doing that, but
He could be. Wait a second.
no
He's
mask,
joining
no
us.
service.
Yeah, WWE in here
Yeah.
otherwise. Yeah, that could be interesting. Can I be the guy in the corner with the chair in my hand, slamming the guy whose back's turned? And that would be my role perfectly. But yeah, I used to go to WWE years ago too. So, that was some crazy stuff down at the old Louisville Gardens. Believe it or not,
Mm-hmm.
there might have been alcohol involved. I'm not going to say for sure.
Might.
But, might, yes, there was mighty alcohol involved. But fun show today. We'll kind of, since we don't have either Case or Jared here, I guess it's stuck on me to do your Twitter and scheduling information, which I'll gladly do because there is no scheduling information except for the start of the WNBA today. That's important to Cardinal fans because we've got some very, very good basketball players who previously played at Louisville who will be participating in WNBA action. Just to give you an idea on that, it starts out with two of them, with Jazz Jones and Kylie Shook playing at noon on ESPN as the New York Liberty takes on the Seattle Storm with Stewie. That's right,
Yeah.
Brianna Stewart, the 2018 WNBA MVP. And then later on in the day, I think this one is at 5 o'clock, and I believe they're switching over to the CBS Sports Network, which, quite honestly, I don't know if I've got that or not. I'll find out around, I guess, around 5 o'clock. The Mystics from Washington, who did not have to change their name, they're still the Mystics. Although maybe there's some paranormal people up there who are protesting. I don't know. Uh, with Maisha Hines Allen, yes, the great Cardinal from a couple years ago, she'll be playing for them as they take on the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever at 5 o'clock today. And then, of course, Angel gets to play tomorrow. They'll be on the big network, ABC. They've got a 3 o'clock game where the Las Vegas Aces, her new team, takes on the Chicago Sky. So that's your scheduling information for you over the next couple of days. Make sure and watch a little bit of that. As far as Twitter information goes, I'm going to let Jeff introduce his Twitter account. I'll
Sure.
do mine, and we'll flip a coin and see who does the other two.
So I do have Card Couple Radio as an account. I have not posted to it in a long time because there's been very little to talk about in Cardinal sports from that perspective. Probably should find some ways to use that for non-actual sporting event stuff, but it's a little tough in downtimes like this. My personal account, which is where I say my personal personal opinions, many of which can be strong, and occasional jokes and technical weird content, just whatever comes to my mind. Jeff McAdams is my name. It's very simple, nothing spectacular there, and I use that a lot more frequently.
So make sure to follow Jeff on either or both of those.
Mm-hmm.
On Twitter, I come out as Cardinal Couple on Twitter, and I will put a variety of things there. Just about every day I'll have something out there, a lot of it UofL sports related, but I've also started doing some things with a group where we list from A to Z, a different letter each day, songs from the 70s, 1970s. It's a fun little group I got into with a lawyer friend of mine who kind of turned me on to it and invited me to join. So what I try to do is find one of the most obscure songs from the 70s I can think of, depending on what letter it is, and put that out there. So, and I also try to add a YouTube clip of it as well if I can find one, and it gets some nice response. So anyway, catch me on Cardinal Couple. That's my Twitter account. I'm always happy to jump in there. Jared, who's busy sweeping the bank floor right now, as I get ready to close here in an hour. He tweets as Mr. Anderson Jared.
Mm-hmm.
And just look at the horizon and the sky. There's so many things that he puts out there, I couldn't even start to name them all.
Yep.
He's always fun. He's never boring. And he tweets, I think, in probably 20 times a day some days. So if you like to read tweets, certainly you would do a lot worse than jumping on his and catching his. Case, who is busy studying for the Cardinal Couple quiz that we're not going to take today. He is best case scenario, and the best is BST, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Jeff, is that right?
Yep.
He doesn't do a whole lot, mostly work kind of stuff. Every once in a while he'll have some sports news on there for you, but certainly follow each and every one of us on Twitter as we try to keep you all going in the know on things that are worldly wise and UofL sports wise for you. If you get on Twitter, jump on in there, give us a follow. We'll probably follow you back. We're easy like that, so do what you want to do there. But looking at today's kind of a lineup, Jeff and I talked about a little bit earlier today, we do have quite a few things to talk about today, so let's go ahead and jump right on into it here.
Shockingly, in mid-July, we actually have a fair bit to talk about.
It's just like the winds have changed, blew in some wonderful cool weather.
The Scorpions. All right, okay.
Yeah, it is the Scorpions. I might use that when I get to the W's and A to Z song.
That's right.
It's a great song.
Yeah.
Gorky Park, yeah.
That's right.
WNBA starts today. It's WNBA opening weekend, fans. Yes, and for those of you who've been starved for women's basketball action, fear not. It is here beginning at noon today as two UofL women's basketball players will be in action. We hope at least they're in action when the New York Liberty takes on the Seattle Storm. For the Liberty, of course, as mentioned earlier, we have Jasmine Jones, and we also have Kylie Shook that'll be dressing up in the Liberty as they play in the Wubble. That's
the Wubble. That's wonderful.
The nickname for the IMG Academy down there where they're playing basketball, and they'll be playing the very tough Seattle Storm team, a team that, of course, is probably highlighted. I'm not sure if Sue Bird plays today or not. I haven't seen much on that, if she's going to go or not.
I don't know.
But I do know that they have 2018 WNBA MVP Breanna Stewart on that team. Certainly a very fine basketball player there, Jeff, who had to sit out a little bit last year. But as we can remember for years back, Stewie always presents a problem for whoever she goes up against.
That's an understatement.
Indeed, a good basketball player. And then a 3 o'clock game, which really, I don't know, really no major rooting interest in this one for me, where the Los Angeles Sparks will take on the Phoenix Mercury at 3. That's the ABC game. But at 5 o'clock, guess what? Maisha Hines Allen and the Washington Mystics will jump in and take on the Indiana Fever at 5 p.m. and that's on the
Yeah.
CBS Sports Network.
And I will say, if you want to have a sense of what life in the Wubble is like, Maisha Hines Allen is a pretty good follow on Instagram. She's been posting a lot to Instagram about their shenanigans, we'll say that. Chasing lizards because you're in Florida, right? Lizards, lots of little lizards all over the place, and video gaming and how they're doing food and their setup. And early on there was some discussion about some of the accommodations not being up to par. I think there were just a few issues with that, and I believe those have been addressed. She hasn't seemed to indicate that she's had any problems with it, so I hope everything's going well for them.
Yeah, Case, I think earlier in the week we'd seen that where a couple of teams actually had to move lodging headquarters from one establishment or hotel or
Rooms
similar
anyway.
apartments. It's really spread out.
Apartments. Yeah.
There were some infestation of bed bugs and things like that. Which
Yeah.
certainly, I guess it's a problem anytime you do travel or stay somewhere, but certainly don't like to see that and hope that all that's been straightened out for these young athletes that are out there.
Yeah, and by my understanding, it has been, so that's hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah, the fun games. Let's kind of take a look at them and do some prognostication on them here at the start. You get this Liberty, a team that has 6 rookies on it this season. A team that was basically rebuilt, restructured, reformulated.
You go to their roster online, and they have date of birth listed for them, and I'm feeling really old right now.
Yeah, and certainly if you're feeling old, then I'm feeling like I'm Methuselah.
Yeah. So I'm like lots of them from like 1996 to 1998. And I'm like, oh,
jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, golly. Yeah, it's hard to realize that Jazz Jones isn't even 25 years old yet.
Yeah.
But she'll be taking part in that first game.
The youngest on the roster, for what it's worth, the youngest on the roster is Megan Walker, November 23rd, 1998. 21? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And, of course, Jared was a 1994 baby. He just tweeted that here, which means you missed the 70s in music, dude. How could you do that? Holy cow.
It was a good move.
Come on, man.
I'm not a fan of 70s music.
Oh, the early 70s was some of the best music out there. And if you go back to the late 60s, even better.
I have one word for you. Disco.
Well, that was the later 70s, and we don't even include that in part of the... Yeah, but... After truth be told, yes, I did have a leisure suit. Yes, I did dance under a mirrored ball. And yes, I did learn how to do the hustle. Oh, my God. The sins of the past shall not reflect the future capabilities, though. So... Anyway, that was a very forgettable time. Had a shag haircut back then too. I'll have you know. But
man, I got no issue with long hair. I mean, I
don't either. That, I still got it. My shag though was a curly. I had it permed, curled out, and it was. Oh, I was a dandy. Anyway, that means nothing, of course, to any of the players today, including Brown Stewart and Sue Bird, who are both on the Seattle Storm. I'm pretty sure Stewie will start. I haven't seen anything on Bird yet, whether she'll be a starter or not. My guess is they'll probably play her. But
yeah, and she's talked about that. She wanted to play this year, particularly because there's a very real possibility this could be her last year playing. She is. I want to say this very respectfully. For a WNBA player, she's getting up there in age, right? She's still a very vital, healthy young woman. Healthy woman, and certainly a very, very good player, and still has skills and capabilities. But she's, it may be getting close to time for her to hang up her shoes and and move on to being I don't know, maybe a commentator or a coach. Do a very fine job in either of those roles, I think.
Yeah, my thoughts on that are pretty much the same. How many years has she got left? I'm not really sure. She's
Yeah.
still, at least from what we saw of her over last winter, still a very good ball player.
Right.
And came in and did some stuff against Louisville, but I think she would be one that would
Yep.
fit very well into the commentator role
Yeah. I
for
think she'd be very good at it.
college basketball, WNBA basketball.
Yeah.
Two areas where I think she would excel, providing a great insight into the game
Yep.
and also into the player mentality.
Right.
So look forward to seeing that happen.
She speaks very well. She's very well spoken and clear and concise in her language, and it's just that's a combination that is hard to come by. So when you get it, you're like, yeah, okay, come on, put a headset and a mic on, you know.
Yeah. So certainly would love to see that, and
Yeah.
boy, to put her and Diana Taurasi in the same room for a couple hours and let them talk, I think that could be shown on almost any channel. It would be hilarious.
Yeah. Of course, they've been friends for so long. They played together at UConn too, right?
Yeah. Part of Gino's crew up there,
Yeah.
and I think also have socialized a lot over the years,
Mhm.
and perhaps even toasted a beverage or two. So
Yeah.
that could be some fun conversation.
And if you really want to shake up the fun, you bring Megan Rapinoe in there as well.
Oh, yeah, that's. And then all of a sudden you've got your whole evening planned.
Right.
So there you go. Sit, fly on the wall and listen to those
Yeah.
conversations. But it is a new look Liberty team, so
Yeah.
we'll be very interested to kind of see how Sabrina Ionescu does. She was the #1 pick in the draft. Of course, certainly had a stellar career at Oregon, and one of those kind of ball players that tries to come in and make an immediate impact and change on the game when she's in there, either from a scoring or any other aspect of the game. She's just all around.
Looking at the roster, this is a young team. Yeah, I think, how many rookies did you say? 6? Because they've got
6 is what last I saw.
They've got 7 on the roster here.
Did they maybe add one? Or
I don't know.
something?
Jonah Holmes, Sabrina Ionescu, Jazz Jones, Liana Oldham, Kylie Shook, Megan Walker, and Jocelyn Willoughby.
What was that first one you named?
Joyner Holmes out of Texas.
I think
that may have been a later ad.
She must have been a later ad because I
Yeah.
don't think she was one of the original 6.
Right.
Maybe. But certainly a team that there are a lot of question marks about when you've got that many new players, a new head coach who's promised a different style of ball than what we used to see out of the Liberty, which pretty much involved throwing it into the middle and seeing what their previous center could do with it and then trying to rebound if she missed.
Yeah.
That type of offense.
So Joyner Holmes was selected 19th in the draft by the Seattle Storm and then got waived.
Oh.
And so the Liberty picked her up as a free agent. So, yep.
Thank you
later
for the
ad.
clarification, sir. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
So a little additional motivation for her today.
But,
Then
man,
go ahead and see if she can.
Some serious young. I mean, you've got other than those rookies, you've got Kia Nurse with 2 years, Kia Stokes with 4, Amanda Zahu.
Amanda Zowie B.
Zowie B. Yeah.
was
Okay.
too.
Sorry. 5 years, and then
A 4th for them last year. I'm glad that she's back.
Yeah.
I thought I'd seen her on the roster, but I wasn't positive. But yeah, she was a good player for them last year.
Asia Dora is 1 year, but she's not going to be playing, right? We figured that out. We found out about that, right?
He's out with the virus.
And, you know, the most experienced, I want to say oldest, the most experienced player, also oldest, but most experienced player on the team is Alicia Corinden with 7 years experience. So, I mean, even that's not a real long time in the league.
Yeah, certainly one of those strong players from California. We can remember back when Louisville was making their run back in 2012 and 13. She was a part of a very strong California team out there.
Gave us some troubles in that run.
They did indeed. They had some ball players. So it'll be fun to see what this New York Liberty looks like going against a very good Seattle Storm team. So I'm going to say probably a close game here, but I think that the Storm's experience gives them the W, although it's awfully hard to plan and formulate against a team that you don't know anything about because there are no
Yeah.
past WNBA performances there for the most part, okay?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's looking at the Storm roster. Sue Bird that we mentioned. Jordan Canada. She's pretty good. Natasha Howard. Crystal Langhorne. She's very good. She's got 12 years experience at this point. Wow. Jewel Lloyd. Epiphany Prince out of Rutgers. Mercedes Russell. Stewie that you mentioned. Morgan Tuck also out of UConn. Yeah. Some pretty good players there. I mean, you get to the WNBA, you're not going to have bad players on any team, but yeah.
That's right. There are no weak links on the bench in
Yeah.
the WNBA. So we'll see what happens in that one. The 3 o'clock game could be a fun one to watch if you're so inclined to see it because you've got the Sparks going here. They've got Candace Parker, who's been great for so long.
Right.
You've got Aneka Wnba, a very, very good ball player. And guess who they have to go up against? They go up against the Phoenix Mercury team. Let's start naming them off, shall we? Diana Taurasi, Brittany Griner. There's a little bit of talent there, huh? Golly gosh.
So height there, too.
Matchup.
Griner.
And so, certainly, the Mercury, a very challenging team to take on, you know. And
Skylar,
what a great all-star.
Skylar Diggins-Smith. Bria Hartley. Yeah, Kia Vaughn out of Rutgers. Yeah. Jessica Breland.
Remember Kia Vaughn, boy, she had that classic stare down with Gwen Rupp a few years ago.
Yeah.
No one wanted.
I went nose to nose.
Get that for any time soon. Yeah. That's kind of like, you looking at me, rookie? Yes, I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
Yes, I am. And then, of course, kicking it off or closing it out, I should say, at 5 o'clock. The Indiana Fever, I think Nikki Collins, still the head coach up there, who was associated with Louisville back in the day before Jeff Walls. They will be taking on the defending champion Washington Mystics, of course. Such a wealth of talent on that Washington Mystics roster, and certainly our own Maisha Hines-Allen, who I would imagine would see some playing time. I don't know how much she'll figure into their overall plans, Jeff, but certainly we know that she can certainly score inside, she can certainly rebound, and she can certainly shut you down on the defensive end. So
Indiana,
a good player off the bench.
Indiana Fever head coach is Marianne Stanley.
Oh, I was wrong. Where did Nikki Collins? Atlanta. I'm sorry. I'm completely wrong.
Fever have, let's see, Natalie Achonwa, out of Canada, played at Notre Dame. Lauren Cox, Candace Dupree, Tiara McCowan from Mississippi State. We don't particularly remember her fondly. Victoria Vivian's also out of Mississippi State. Yeah.
Boy, that gets me rooting for Washington even more right now. When there's Washington.
Right. See Washington. Let's see Ariel Atkins, Essence Carson, Tina Charles, Elena Coates. Wow, a lot of big names here. Elena Deladon, who won't be playing. Maisha mentioned, Kara Leslie. Yeah.
You know, Maisha was kind of Helena Deladon's backup last year. So
yeah.
Her being out of the lineup, maybe she'll see some more time, perhaps. Then, unfortunately, Helena Deladon, or ETD as they like to call her, has that Lyme disease that has really affected her quite badly. And
they've got some other players with more height than Maisha that I suspect will step into that role. Although, God, Deladon does so much more than just be a big body underneath that.
You got that right.
Jeez.
Very, very exciting first day lineup for the NBA opening weekend. We'll get to see Angel play tomorrow. She'll be on the ABC game. It's the 3 o'clock game with the Las Vegas Aces. Man, I look at that lineup, Jeff, and that is a powerhouse lineup. Just look at some of the players that are on that team along with Angel. My God. Incredible.
So you got, let's see, Lindsay Allen, Liz Cambage, Kayla McBride, Angel, Kelsey Plum. I didn't know she ended up at Las Vegas. Daniel Robinson.
Prolific scorer.
Yeah. Asia Wilson, Jackie Young out of Notre Dame. Yeah, that's some great names there too. Derek
And
Hampton.
Daniel Robinson, she
Yeah.
was out of Oklahoma.
Yep. Danielle Robinson. Yep. 5'9", out of Oklahoma.
Guess what? She's got a little sister, Jeff.
Yeah.
Do you know who that little sister is?
No.
Mikasa Robinson?
Is it really?
Name familiar, maybe?
Really?
I don't know. Maybe heard of her.
I didn't realize that.
I'm pretty sure on that. I'm pretty sure on that one. Double check it on me if you want.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm sure
Let's see if I
that's
can find out.
her little sister there. That's the 3 o'clock game tomorrow. So also very, very good games are going. Before and after that, you got the Connecticut Sun. They reached the finals in the NBA last year. WNBA. They're going up against the Lynx, always a very strong team up in Minnesota. And then the final game of the day is the Dallas Wings and the Atlanta Dream. The Atlanta Dream have had so much problems and controversy and illness down there with their squad. I'm sure they're just thankful to be able to field a full roster because it's really hit Atlanta hard this year, guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
a fun opening weekend. So if you're a women's basketball fan like we are, certainly catch some of these, or we'll probably do an in-depth report on this tomorrow, I would think, if a certain worldwide I know has the article right up.
Yep. Try and get some of them.
Yeah, on Monday's article as well. But staying in the basketball realm, Jeff Walls.
Oh.
We've heard of that guy before. Was recently named into the top 100 of a certain list, Jeff, that I'm sure he's very, very honored and pleased to be a part of, right?
Absolutely.
Impact on the game, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you probably know. I didn't get a chance to dig into it too heavily, so yeah.
When they talk about players that have impacted the game and people that have made a difference in the game, and some of the things that are going on in the world of women's basketball, Jeff Wall, certainly a guy that I think comes to mind pretty quickly, along with some other very, very good coaches that are out there, coaches that have made a difference in the game over the years. I'm trying to bring up that article right now.
Yeah. I was
just a second, Jeff.
doing lots of lookups there. I didn't have a chance to really kind of dig into too much. Yeah. Silver Waves Media is the name of the organization. They've done some other stuff in women's basketball, yeah.
The influential people in women's college basketball, top 100, and certainly some of the names that are on this list here. An incredible amount of people who have done some very, very good things over the years, and certainly some very, very good people that I think have to be considered. Gino Auriemma.
Yeah.
We've heard of that guy before, huh?
Yeah.
Muff McGraw.
Right.
We certainly have heard of that name before. She's been an incredible kind of person. Carol Lawson, of course, who did a lot of hers in playing and also is commentating. Now the head coach at Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Quentin Hillsman, our old buddy Q, Syracuse on that list. Very, very good coaches from the ACC, and Sue Semmerau, and also Wes Moore over at North Carolina State. Coach Walls, the facts speak for themselves. Okay, 360 and 103 win-loss record as a head coach, putting him on a very, very fast track to the 600 club, as was mentioned.
Only one losing season. That's the one that I think is impressive. And that season was that was the year that everybody was injured.
It was this year after the Cardinals went to the final game of the NCAA tournament. Some very, very good players graduated from that squad.
I think at one point that year we had 7 active players on the roster, and only 6 on scholarship, because one of them was Shelby Harper before she got a scholarship. Right? She came in and saved our bacon from an even worse season. Yeah.
A starting point guard that year.
Yeah.
And it even gotten to the point where Brandy Ratty, who had been a great basketball player but had decided to concentrate on studies and leave the team that following year, was asked by Jeff Walls to come back on the roster just to be a practice player, but he saw her as a practice player and said, I want to give you a uniform. I need you.
Yeah.
And so she agreed to come back and play.
Yeah, I think that was also the year that he convinced Gwen Rucker to come back and play basketball again because we needed her, right, just for numbers. Yeah.
Certainly, but in some ways, I think Walls looks back very fondly at that team and says, we won some games that we had no business winning.
Yeah.
That we did things that we had no business getting done because this team, although, it wasn't the most talented team he'd ever had, believed in each other. And they certainly tried to do some great things. A team I know Becky Burke remembers very fondly as well. So, some good stuff there for Coach Walls. Certainly a top 100. I would put him much higher than that. I would put him definitely easily in the top 20 of most influential people in the women's basketball game. And if anybody disputes that, I'm just going to lay the facts on the table and say, how can you not?
Yeah.
How can you put him in your top 20?
Yeah.
Okay. So, best of luck to Coach, of course, because in staying in our basketball vein here, Jeff, they're back in the gymnasium.
They are.
On Floyd Street, down at the Cougar Center. They are, starting on July 20th, able to get back in and receive instruction from the coaches and actually have practices. What a wonderful event. We've seen some great pictures and also some great clips on Twitter and other media outlets of them out there. Coach prominently displayed in his black mask.
Yep.
The players lined up playing and shooting some drills.
Yeah, no, all the student athletes, when they came back, Adidas was supplying masks as part of the, the Adidas always supplies, athletic gear and stuff like that. They had masks in the stuff they were getting, masks, let me make that plural, and the stuff they were getting this year, and they're pretty sharp-looking masks, I gotta say. I kind of want one.
Yeah, hopefully a brand new one and not a used one.
Well, yeah,
The whole aspect of it, though, this is something that goes on every year. They always have summer workouts down there. I think this year, because everybody's so starved for action and because everybody really wants to just see something out of Louisville women's basketball because of the abrupt end to their season last year, there is a lot more interest in the summer workouts this year. And over the years, those summer workouts have not only been beneficial to the returning players, but some of the players that are participating in other leagues have stopped in from time to time, whether they're in Europe or whether they're in the Wnba or wherever, and played a little round ball in that gym over there on Floyd Street as well. But this year, I'm sure with the protocols involved, Jeff, it's a lot different situation.
Yeah, I suspect they're very limited in what they can do with that, if they can do any sort of visits like that.
As far as me actually getting into watching any of this, I've not contacted anybody at UofL about this yet. I'm 99.9% sure of the answer that I would get.
Right.
And I fully realize why that would be in a negative sort of vein, because of the safety and the precautions of not only the student athletes and staff, but also for me as well.
Yeah, everybody.
I feel very bad if I were to go down there and contract COVID. I would feel equally bad if I went down there and was unfortunately someone who not knowingly spread that to a student athlete or a staff member. So I understand the shutdown, I understand the closing down. I understand why they're doing what they have to do, and certainly I hope that this leads to something better this fall, sir, and winter.
Yeah.
Or this training right now will give them the chance to actually be able to participate when it is basketball season. But we are sitting here in the middle of a dark room, and we don't know where the door is, and we don't know when the light's coming on.
Yeah. It's frustrating, for sure.
But we will wait. Certainly, we hope to hear something out of the ACC and some of the other conferences this week coming up. We'll see what they say, what they decide to do. I will tell you, the way things are trending lately, I'm not being overly positive on the news that we might get.
Yeah.
I'm not very, very confident in that at all. But certainly, as we always say, the care and the concern of the student athletes, staff, and coaches is primarily the number one aspect we have to consider in all this.
Yeah, absolutely. And this flows a lot from my just kind of mindset as a manager of people in my professional career at this point. That you can say no, I need you to work in place or do whatever because of these reasons. But if those people that you're depending upon to, and I'm speaking from my professional perspective, if those people that I'm depending upon to do, their work and to accomplish things and move, the organization forward, get sick and can't perform, then have I really accomplished anything, right? And I think it's important as a again, kind of creating an analogy here from my work as a manager. You have to take care of your people because your people are how you get things done. And in the sports world, you have to take care of your people or else you don't have sports, right? If we want to have sports, we have to maybe back off and say, hey, let's not have sports for a while, get things under control before we go back and try to do this again. So I just don't want anybody to be short-sighted about it and try to rush into doing things when it's not there to support it.
I think that the leads that are watching as far as this goes are also going to pay quite a bit of attention to things and how they transpire in the Wobble and also in the NBA enclosed facilities as well to see how that goes.
Yep.
How because obviously we're at a point in time right now where a traveling team like we see in both leagues that would play at home one night and then go on the road for 2 games and then come back home. Certainly the dynamics of that are impossible.
Right.
Let's face it.
Yeah.
So we'll see how things go and hope for the best. That's all we can do. We also had a bit of fun in my article that I wrote on Thursday or Friday, excuse me. I don't even know what day it is. On Friday, where we discussed what if Louisville had a WNBA team, and what if that team consisted of all former Louisville women's basketball players. My goodness, could you imagine such a thing? Yeah, first of all, you'd have to come up with a name for this team, huh? Right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's up there. I think we should call them the Louisville Cardinal Couples, but that's just my opinion. But as far as picking out players to be on that 11-player roster, we had people venture their thoughts and opinions on who would be on that team. Let's go over some of these and then let's give them a thumbs up or thumbs down, huh? Shall we, Cal?
Yeah, absolutely.
On my list, and I'll give you my list. First of all, I had Asia Taylor. Thumbs up on Asia, obviously. Your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Asia, of course, has had a couple stints in the WNBA. Was also a very, very top 5 excellent player over in Australia in the ABL over there. She's currently back stateside right now.
Yeah, played 2 or 3 years over there, I believe. Yeah.
Asia's on that team.
Mm-hmm.
Asia Dewar, I picked for this team as well.
Yep.
And then how can it goes without saying she's got to be on there.
Yep.
Jeff also chose Erica Carter for this team. Erica played some ball, of course, with Phoenix and was with the WNBA for a brief while. Was an incredible guard for Louisville during her time here. Got better and better each year. She's somebody I think that you have to have on this Louisville team. Your thoughts on her?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Completely.
And I'm kind of doing these in alphabetical, so
yeah.
For the most part, I may jump out of line here a little bit. I also had Angel McCoughtry on this team.
Yeah.
How can you leave Angel off a team like this?
Yeah,
no brainer there. She's there.
Yeah.
One that some people maybe have some questioning about, but I put Sam Furion on this team.
Yep.
Sam never did she never really got a WNBA contract.
Yeah, Sam Furion, and in I think much the same vein for me would be Mo Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mo, for me, was the epitome of an inside player.
Yeah, just utility player. Didn't get the spotlight much, but she made things happen.
Has made herself a very nice living and had a lot of fun playing over in the European leagues ever since she graduated. She's one of those that I never really think got a fair shot at the WNBA, but I think she could be a very productive player on this Louisville team I'm forming, which we'll get to in a little bit. We got to find a coach for this bunch, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah.
Also put Kylie Shook on this team, Kylie, because of her height, because of her 3-point threat, the way that she's a shot blocker. I thought that might come in handy for us, Jeff. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I was gonna put her. We have a lot of other tall players that have played in the past. They could be good shot blockers, but I think Kylie, because she also does have a little bit of 3-point threat that kind of changes the way teams have to play against her. I think she could be potentially quite good. Yes.
Yes, indeed. Maisha Hines-Allen, I put on the squad as well. Maisha, with the incredible stuff that she did at Louisville. Of course, Maisha being a player that had an opportunity to go WNBA and has played with a couple teams up there, still on the Washington roster. I think Maisha would be a very strong 4 on this Louisville team I'm building. Do you think so?
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Also had to go with Jasmine Jones just because of her all-around explosiveness, her athleticism, her ability, her very, very excellent shooting capabilities, and also her enthusiasm. I think that she would be a prime player for this team, maybe in a bench role, but certainly one you want to have on this squad, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on all these so far.
Say we're doing good so far. Another one I got here is Jazz Covington. A couple people weren't really sure why I put Jazz on this team, but believe it or not, Louisville basketball did exist before Jeff Wallace arrived on campus.
Yeah.
And he says facetiously, as Jazz Covington was a very, very strong center back in the Tom Collin years and did some wonderful things with the Cards, and was also very influential in kind of grooming and making Angel McCaughtry, the player that she turned out to be, with her guidance and patience and friendship.
Yep.
And Jazz Covington has done quite well playing in some overseas leagues, in the European women's basketball leagues over there.
Yep.
I want Jazz on this team, so I'm going to put Jazz Jones and Jazz Covington there.
Yeah, I might not with Covington. It's close. She's a very, very fine player. I have a huge amount of respect for her. I'm not sure that she would stack up well against more modern players. She was a standout star on the team, but I'm not sure if she even, if you took her at her prime when she was playing and put her on this team right now, I don't know that she would do that well. I think the caliber of the team overall has increased over the years, so I might not include her. It'd be close.
It's a fair and a rational point. Yep. I'll certainly agree with that. Mm-hmm. Also, another one that some people had some questions about, I put Candace Bingham on this team. Put Candace on because of her incredible contributions in the 2 years that she was a Cardinal. Certainly a ball player that came in along with Angel McCaughtry, took the Cards to new heights, including a final game appearance her senior year. Candace was the force inside on these two teams, the one that Angel looked to for the strong rebound, for the putback, for the inside pass when everybody was swarming on Angel. Candace always delivered, put the ball in the basket. She was also a very, very excellent defensive player. Candace Bingham is definitely on my team. How about you?
I'm close. I think if she's not on the team, I think you got her on the bench as a coach, as an assistant coach.
So that'll get us to our next area.
Yeah.
Noticeable, after I do mention this, noticeably absent from this team, I did leave off Shoni Schimmel.
Yeah.
And a lot of people.
Yeah, and I was getting ready to add, I think we need an attack Yorkie or two in here. And I'm interestingly related to your idea there of not having Shoni on there. I would put Jude on there.
Jude was certainly an excellent ball handler, maybe.
Yeah.
One of the best we've seen at Louisville. Her shot definitely developed over the years. She was also a facilitator for the squad. You could be that attack Yorkie you're thinking of.
Yep.
Some other players that were mentioned to me that I did not put on this team. I'll bring up, first of all, Sarah Hammond. Would you include her?
Probably not. It would be again, another one of those that's pretty close, but probably not. Yeah. My issue with Shoney is that she wasn't a particular, to jump back to that a little bit, is that she didn't have much defensive role on the team, and I kind of think a little bit of the same for Sarah. She was very good, but her defense was weaker, so I'm that's probably why I'm making that decision there. It was close, very close.
Yeah, we got Jared weighing in here about Shona. Said she was a great player,
Yeah,
and according to what he thinks here, it was the skill set the other players
right,
on the court had with her that allowed her to be so successful, and that
right.
could be very, very true on that.
Because
Sarah Hammond off
she
the
might drop
bench.
40 on any game, but if the other team, because if you got a Shoney in there not playing very much defense, then the other team may be dropping in more than that. So yeah,
Shoney never saw a shot she didn't like.
yeah,
That was for sure. So on that, but Jared also has Sarah Hammond coming off the bench, and my heart goes out. I'm so sorry to Sarah. I did leave her off my squad,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
probably shouldn't have, but I just didn't have her on this team. People brought up to me, you're forgetting about a player who came in and had some impact on his squad, and her time here was Mariah Moore. Mariah Moore, who had some leading category statistics in her time here at Louisville before she left. Do you put Mariah Moore on this team, Jeff? I did not.
Probably not. She's a good player, but probably not. No.
Also had somebody bring up the fact of Courtney Walton.
Mm-hmm.
The court. Court was such a great person to have on the squad. Was a strong rebounder, could certainly shut down people inside. Her shot was adequate enough, I guess, to score. Sometimes people would complain about her ability to put it up after a rebound. I didn't put Courtney on this team though, Jeff. Would
Now,
you?
I think you got her as a color commentator.
I think you have to
Yeah,
have Courtney over there on the sidelines
yeah, yeah. She should.
talking to our head coach at halftime.
Yeah, yeah. I think she would make an excellent color an
And she
analyst.
did fulfill that role.
It
She's
sounds
now
so.
also a recruiting director down at Georgia Tech,
Yep.
and certainly has the sparkling personality, and
Yeah.
also has the wit and wisdom about her, where we would want her doing this color commentary along with our play-by-play announcer for this team, which we're going to have to see if we can get Nick Curran freed up to be the head guy here, right?
Yeah,
Play-by-play.
it needs some play-by-play for Courtney to work with. Absolutely.
And Adrian Johnson's going to be so busy with player development with these.
Yeah,
We're going to excuse her from the microphone
yeah.
and let Courtney come in and do the color commentary. Plus, she knows just about all of them anyway,
Right.
too, so
Yeah.
some great references there. But the head coach, okay, so who's going to coach this team? I had several suggestions. Candace Bingham was one of the first ones that came up, since she is, of course, a coach. I think if you bring in Candace, though, you got to bring in Becky Burke, right?
Yeah, if you're gonna if you want CB on the bench, I think she's an assistant. You have Becky take that lead role if that's the direction you're going to go. There's so many possibilities for head coach, though. I mean, you could, assuming we're not going to poach from the current UofL women's basketball coaching staff, which leaves
Right.
out folks like Steph Norman and that either of the Sams, and of course Sam Williams is at EKU now. We could get her, but you have Beth Ann Ord. You've got brain fart Cincinnati.
Oh, Michelle Clark.
Yeah, Michelle Clark Heard potentially.
She would be an excellent coach for this
Yeah.
team. I agree with you, too.
Yeah. So many possibilities there out of that UofL coaching tree for sure.
So I don't know. I think if we have to go ahead and set a coaching staff right now, I don't know how many coaches the WNBA is allowed to have, but I'm going to have 5 coaches, and we can just pick out of these 5, and maybe let Becky be the head coach for a while, because she's had such a great trajectory and path so far in her head coaching pursuits.
Right.
She's the head coach, and we'll let her pick her own staff.
Yeah,
That's it.
absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we're giving you a lot of women's basketball here today, folks. So let's move on to a little bit, a couple other subjects. We did get a chance to see our Manatee Squeeze playing in the Florida Gulf Coast League play an epic game earlier this week.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to watch it, and I saw you all commenting about it on the site, and I was gonna pull it up and watch it one evening, and I pulled it up on the stream, and it was like 3 hours. Wow. Okay, another night when I got to start earlier on that one. I had a softball game going 3 hours. It's crazy.
Actually, the game was in its entirety about 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
They did a lot of post-game interviews with the players and the coach of the winning team for.
But still, 2.5 hours for a softball game is really long.
Game for softball, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I watched every minute of it because I was sitting there and I'm saying, okay, I'm going to watch this thing. I could see it. And then when I first started watching them, my first thought was like, why did I even bother to, click on the live stream? Tampa, after the first couple innings, this score was 8-0.
Yeah.
The River and Macaca City were just pounding the squeeze, squeezing the life out of the squeeze, you might say. But in true fashion, the squeeze, like they had done all season long, refused to give up, refused to say yield. They were helped, of course, a lot by a very questionably high call on the starting pitcher for the River Mugs getting thrown out of the game in the second inning, Jeff. Thrown out of the game for impeding the base pass as a runner when she was trying to advance on a ground ball from first to second. Ran into the University of Washington second baseman, Stormy, I don't know how great I'll do on her last name, Kozelenik, I think maybe it's close.
Yeah.
Impeded with her ability to catch the throw for the force out, and perhaps there were words said. I'm not really sure what happened exactly, and no one's talked about it, but Leonard was tossed from the game. The Manatees starting pitcher, their ace, the most valuable player in the league, thrown out of the championship game in the second inning. That's just a little bit of controversy, buddy.
Wow, okay. I hadn't heard about all that. I definitely got to go watch it now.
Yeah, just if you're going to watch it, at least watch it, because I don't know what she did as to. I think something came out of her mouth that you wouldn't use at church services. Just my guess. But anyway, thrown out of the game. Yes.
Wow.
So it gave the Manatee the chance to tee off. She had only given up one hit to that point in time, by the way. A chance to see how they would do batting against another pitcher on the roster. And as it turns out, they did quite well as they started to chip in to that 8-0 lead and had it cut all the way down to 8-6 through 5 innings. And then after the River Mocs got a solo home run to go up 9-6, Manatee pulled off an incredible top half of the inning after that, Jeff scoring 3 runs on a 3-run home run, sir, to tie this thing up at 9-9.
Love that.
You just got to go back and watch it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're not sleepless one night, wake up and just click on and watch the replay on it. Turn down the volume, though, because the announcers aren't all that great on that network, I'll be honest with you. And they were very, very pro Macaca City, my own opinion, of course. But, wow, 9-9 going into the top of the last inning. Unfortunately, a game that the Squeeze could not get the final run in. Macaca City River Mocs did. They take the 10-9 victory. But that was softball at its finest, sir. It's certainly fun to watch.
Yeah, you got me hyped up to go watch it now for sure.
I think you'll enjoy it. And certainly Jordan Wolf and Paige Schindler, Louisville softball players, had some contributing roles and hits in this game, made some great plays, and certainly very proud of them for the time that they spent down there doing things. In the league, it's now ended. Some of the players have gone on to, I think, play against the USAAA professional team that'll be playing in the Olympics and stuff. That's a very good squad. Jordan Wolf did make the All-Star team too down there, so
nice.
Congratulations.
Yep. I think they had one different divisions of the league, but yeah, I'm not sure how that was set up, but yeah.
As certainly those two, Wolf and Schindler, will weigh, I'm sure, very heavily into Holly April's plans when and if softball gets going back on here soon, because they gained some very valuable experience down there. Paige Schindler showed that, hey, guess what? I'm a hitter as well as a pitcher. She batted 400 in that league, buddy. 400. and had 2 key home runs late in the season as a designated hitter. Wolfie, of course, holding down right field, batted over 333. I think she was around the 340 mark or something
Yep.
for the season. And certainly both showed that, yes, we're ready to get back and play some ACC ball. Yeah, let's do it. Other things to talk about, I guess let's go into a little bit here about Tess Clark.
Yeah, so the news item came out this week that Tess Clark had signed with Alcobendas, I believe is how it's pronounced, close anyway, in Spain, professional team in Spain. This is a return for her. This is where she played last year. This came out as news this week kind of confused me a little bit because I kind of already knew she was going there. So I don't know what specifically this news was about. Maybe that like actual contracts were signed and such, and so it was actually like, stamped and ready to go now versus just agreement in principle type of thing. But yeah, she's gonna be heading back to Spain to play again. She did very well there, got a lot of acclaim in that league, and did very well. So I think last year she was playing middle. I think you suggested that they may have her on the outside this year. I don't know. She's capable of doing either, of course, but she's naturally and has played most of her career in the middle, so I would expect to see her in the middle for the most part. But yeah, congratulations to her.
Well, it's her. I hope things go well for her over in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a chance, which she loves, to play professional volleyball over there. When you think of Tess and her time at Louisville and the teams that she performed with, talk about her game. What are the strengths that she brings to any squad?
Well, the first thing when I think of Tess Clark is I then add on Maggie DeYoung and Lenny Georgia Fandis, because those three were practically inseparable for their time here and even afterwards. But beyond that friendship that she's had with those, she was a dominant force in the middle. UofL Volleyball actually put out a tweet and an Instagram post asking about, their kind of an all-decade team over the last 10 years and what sort of lineup. And I had her listed on that, along with Licia Brown in the middle. I think and then like Anna Stevenson, I think is who I put. But yeah, I mean, she's a dominant force in the middle. They did move her outside one year where she did a very fine job. It's not really her natural position, but she did a very fine job out there. She's tall. She's got some athleticism. She has a really good eye for blocking and knowing the schemes and can get there and is able to move laterally pretty well. And it's just she's a very fine middle.
Certainly want to wish Tess the best over in Spain playing professional volleyball. Well, buddy, we're going to try to cut out of here a little bit early today so we can watch some WNBA action. So let's just go ahead and roll into our final thoughts, and I'll give you a minute to think on yours. My final thought is I hope that all of our U of L women's basketball players that see action over the next 2 days do quite well. I hope that they remain healthy. I hope they have good, productive games. And I hope that their teams win. So let's hope it's a great Cardinal women's basketball weekend for us in the WNBA, sir.
Yeah, and my final thoughts would be kind of to bookend that a little bit. Thankful that the FGCL League has reached its conclusion, and seemingly with everyone safe and healthy. That certainly was a question. And glad that they are. Some of those players will be returning home again, hopefully all safe and sound and healthy, and remove an element of danger there potentially. So well done. I enjoyed having the opportunity to follow the sports and watch some of it, but I'm glad it made it through it without incident. So
Absolutely, and thanks to those guys for letting me kind of join in as an administrator and get some inside scoop and information as well. I hope that some of our girls get a chance to go down there next year too and participate in what they promise will be an even bigger and more involved league. So Jared weighs in via comments. He says his final thoughts are go Cards and stay safe and stay healthy.
yes,
And I think, Jeff, those are great words to end on. You and I would both agree with those. So.
absolutely.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you again next Saturday. Until then, please be careful, be safe, stay healthy, and go Cards.
All right, thanks.